Hola Mariposas Tribe! Happy Friday! Today I wanted to try something new. Well, it's not necessarily new because I've done this before, but I haven't done this in a long time in recording a video. So for today's newsletter, I wanted to share with you something that I've been doing for the last few days on Facebook, which if you've been joining me, it's the 21-day compassion challenge. For the first few days, we've been focusing on what is self-compassion. So today I want to talk about a topic that's so important in regards to being compassionate, and that's judgment. When we judge ourselves or when we judge others, we're being critical. The better way is being curious. So a lot of times, since we're talking about, or I'm dedicating this time, this challenge right now to self-compassion, it's looking at how are we talking to ourselves. So in the first few days, I talked about gratitude, the definition of compassion, and compassion is being able to sympathize with somebody else and then taking action. So when we talk about judgment, the first step is becoming aware. And a lot of times we're judging when we're complaining, we're being critical, when we're really frustrated with people. We're judging the situation. And so another way to look at it is being curious. So that could mean if you're feeling frustrated with a certain person, let's say it's somebody at work, or somebody in your life, somebody you live with, and you're like, oh, this person just doesn't do this enough, or doesn't listen to me. So the way to be curious is look at the history of this person. When or how often has this person shown interest in what you're saying? Don't mean to be harsh, but let's be realistic. I'll say this as an example. Growing up, my mother, God rest her soul, I love her, yet she was always multitasking, doing a lot of things. And when I would come up to her and talk to her, say, Mom, I want to speak to you, she just was so busy doing other stuff, she couldn't take a moment to stop and say, okay, ¿qué quieres, hija? What do you want, daughter? And so I grew up with this idea that my mom's not listening to me. What I have to say is not important. And that's until recently, that's what my limiting belief was. So every time I wanted to reach out, record a video, write something, I always hesitated. So once I started becoming aware of that and finding out like what is this issue, and then looking at my mom and saying, okay, well, what was her problem? What was going on for her that she couldn't stop and say? And then just looking at, my grandparents, her parents, other siblings, her siblings, I got to understand, well, that's just the way she was brought up. So I released the judgment against my mom and just held her in love and light. And, one thing that I learned, especially as she grew, more weak due to her body breaking down, I just said to her, Mother, can you please listen to me? Let's, what that means to me is let's sit in front of each other, look eye to eye, and just have a discussion. And so we started doing that because I was able to voice what it is that I wanted. So that's an example. Point being is be aware of your judgment. How are you criticizing yourself? How are you criticizing others? And let's take that first, being aware. And tomorrow I have a really fun activity, so join me on Mariposas Holistic Healing Facebook. If you don't have Facebook, let me know, and I'll keep that in mind. So thank you. Have a beautiful day and have a wonderful weekend.